Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight here in your Wellness Project. This is a free wellness webinar. We present these every so often, and tonight we're going to be talking about the eye care revolution with Dr. Sunny Park and Dr. Diane Prather. And the subject is 5 things women need to know about eye health. It's brought to you, as I mentioned, by your Wellness Project. And your Wellness Project was created to educate people on topics from nutrition and supplementation to going green. And the better educated you are, the better decisions you can make for your health. We believe that newsletters and weekly updates are part of how we do that. We have our Wellness Resource Center and live events like this one. Eye health is something most of us take for granted until it's too late. And the stats are actually quite shocking. 2/3 of all blindness and visual impairments occur in women. And in this day and age, we're exposed to too much blue light from the phone, the tablet, the monitor, and TV screens, which leads to increased risk of eye disorders such as age-related macular degeneration, which is also known as AMD. So it's very important for women to be aware of symptoms that may show possible signs of more serious retinal conditions. Because if we can intervene at an early stage, we can often prevent vision loss. And that's why it's especially critical to get the info you need to care for your eyes. And in this wellness webinar, Dr. Sunny Park and Dr. Diane Prather will discuss essential information about eye health and provide some tips on how to preserve it. So again, we'll talk about the doctors right now. Who's going to be presenting? Dr. Sunny Park is a nutrition scientist with over 30 years of postdoctoral experience, including 17 years of clinical trial management. And Dr. Diane Prather had a 20-year private optometry practice and has served as a consultant on eye care quality assurance for the New York-based company Davis Vision. So what you're going to learn tonight in this free webinar, you're going to learn 5 things women need to know about eye health, what factors contribute to eye disorders, how women's hormonal fluctuations affect eye health, what nutrients are important for eye health, and what you can do to prevent, delay, or manage eye diseases, and much, much more, of course. So let's start with 5 things women need to know about eye health, and I'm going to introduce Dr. Prather. Take it away.
Hi, I'm Dr. Diane Prather. This evening, I'm going to share with you information in hopes of empowering you to make really good decisions for your vision health. I'll share some of my background and give you pointers on revolutionizing the way we think about eye health. I'm an eye doctor with advanced training in preventive health care. One of the earliest awarenesses of the value of preventive care was from my father. My father was a veterinarian, and he told me that people want to keep their animals healthy because farmers don't want to deal with the problems with sick animals. This made really good sense to me. I wanted to learn more about how people could live a healthy lifestyle and avoid problems. In addition, early on, I was fascinated by how we see. So I decided to learn preventive approaches to eye health. I did my professional training at the University of Houston, the College of Optometry. And after completing the program, I practiced in the Houston, Texas area for about 20 years. During that time, I taught at the University of Houston in the community health track. And in my quest for preventive health care, I wanted to do a little bit more, so I did a master's in public health. And so some people say, well, what is a public health approach to eye care? Well, a public health approach is, instead of just being in an office and working with one patient sitting in a chair, one works with groups of people with health concerns. For example, while living in Texas, we had a number of children in the school system who had challenges learning due to vision issues. In working at the state level, a special census act or law was passed to require children to be screened before they entered into the Texas schools. And this required developing a training protocol to screen children. A screening protocol would help us know which children needed help from which ones were okay. And then we developed criteria and techniques that a school nurse or other screener could implement. But in doing all this, I began to appreciate that screenings were really early detection of a problem, but they weren't true prevention. So if it were true prevention, then it would not have something to be detected. So off I went to explore how to prevent problems. I realized I had to look deeper into the history of how people stayed well and healthy before we had contemporary healthcare. So I explored ancient approaches to healthcare such as acupuncture, homeopathy, and Ayurvedic medicine. And we are fortunate in this day and age, we have access to this knowledge along with contemporary healthcare. And that way we can apply all that is needed in order to get the best outcome. It takes understanding what's happening in the body and applying the appropriate steps. So now let's talk about some of the issues with eyes and dealing with them. So if we go to the slide number 13, the one with the eyeball on it, some vision problems affect women more than men. And that's what we want to address tonight. Research has shown that women tend to suffer more from vision conditions such as age-related macular degeneration. It's also known as AMD, or sometimes it's called ARMD, cataracts and dry eyes. We can drill down on specifics on some of these issues in some subsequent presentations. The reason women are more susceptible is due to the way our bodies respond to the changes in hormones, and simply that women live longer, so the ill effects show up as a higher prevalence for women. There is an increasing concern about exposure to blue light due to our computer use and all the ill effects on vision, especially as we get older. And I'll share some ideas on this a little bit later this evening. So one of the problems that women deal with is dry eyes. And in my practice, I had a number of patients with dry eye issues. The underlying problems could be from the environment, like dry or polluted air, as well as the hormone fluctuations. And most of my patients with dry eyes were women in their postmenopausal years. So it made sense that there was a strong gender and age factor. The gender issue is related to hormone fluctuations that women are more likely to experience. My first step was to understand where the problem began. And so we began to look at the tears of the eyes under one of these microscopes, and we see that the tears are 3 layers thick. There's an inner sticky mucoid layer, there's a middle water layer, and then there's an outer oil layer. The inner sticky mucoid layer holds the middle water layer onto the eyeball, and the outer oil layer coats the top of everything to keep the tears from evaporating. It's really an ingenious design. And dry eye problems could be due to any of the 3 layers not working well. Excuse me. The usual treatment is eye drops, eye creams, expressing or squeezing the meibomian glands. Those are those little glands on the eyelid margin, and that's where the oils come out. I learned from Ayurvedic medicine about a whole body approach to dryness and oils. So I identified a couple of patients who enjoyed trying new things that I brought to them. And I taught them how to cook with ghee, which is also known as clarified butter, and to do an abhyanga, which is an oil massage, and then to take omega oil capsules. When these patients came back for their follow-up care, they told me not only did their eyes not bother them, but their skin was softer and their hair glistened. And their knees didn't crack when they were walking down the stairs. So this was an example of how we addressed an eye problem with a whole body approach. Now let's talk about some of the problems people experience with computer use. And this is both men and women. It's especially true in this time of self-quarantine. People are using computers and can experience uncomfortable and blurry vision. And I have to confess, I'm as guilty as anyone. I have 4 different devices that I use most days. So I put some effort into researching this area. It's likely that eye problems due to computer activity will continue to be an issue now and in the future. The eye healthcare could be grouped together into problems that we call computer vision syndrome. So what happens with CVS, computer vision syndrome? Well, the first thing is we're always looking at a constant distance and we're just staring for an extended period of time. Then there's light that's coming directly from the screen into our eyes. And because we're getting all this information, we tend not to blink completely since we're trying to grasp all this information coming in. So you might ask, how do these situations affect our eyes and our vision? Humans are very visual animals. We use our sense of sight to interpret much of the world around us. What we see is called light. However, what we really see is only a small part of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Humans can see only the wavelengths between about 380 to 760 nanometers, and this is the visible light spectrum. So you can see on this chart, it shows the entire wavelength range, but there's this very narrow area that's actually the visible light. So this is the electromagnetic spectrum. Our eyes do not have detectors for wavelengths of energy less than 380 or greater than 760 nanometers. So we cannot see other types of energy such as gamma waves or radio waves. Rattlesnakes, however, can detect electromagnetic radiation in the infrared range and use this ability to find prey. So I thought that's sort of an interesting little fact. The information age has moved society into a 24/7 electronic environment that exposes us to harmful light pollution every day. New research is illuminating the dangers, pun intended, of blue light. Blue light is a high energy wavelength that can disrupt the sleep cycle and cause damage to the eyes over time. The band of blue-violet light that is most harmful to the retinal cells is in the range between 415 and 455 nanometers, so it's right at that very tip. Major university studies have shown that blue light can disrupt the ability to fall asleep by interfering with the circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are affected due to suppressing the production of melatonin. And melatonin is a hormone that regulates waking and sleeping. Our bodies register blue light at daylight. Chronically shifted circadian rhythms has been linked to breast cancer, prostate cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. Unlike most wavelengths of light, blue light can penetrate deep inside the layers of one's eyes, causing a greater risk for things like macular degeneration. And macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness for those over 55, and more women suffer from this than men. Children are especially vulnerable to the effects of this blue light. They can experience sleep disruption and macular damage. This macular damage in children is more intense since they lack the protective pigments that adults have. Now let's talk about some solutions. So the first thing will be protection. Since blue light is everywhere, it's emitted from the sun, it's in fluorescent lights, it's in the screens of our tablets, our phones, our TVs, and computers. The problem lies with the increased use of technology without protection. Luckily, new advances in protective eyewear are available, and they filter out blue light before it reaches your eyes. For example, I'm going to show you some of my glasses that have blue light filters. So these are my sunglasses. As you can see, they've got a fairly dark filter. Then there's reading glasses that you can use on the computer, and these have a yellow color to them, but they're not as dark. And for some gamers, they like these that are slightly yellow, but they have an anti-reflective coating on them. And this is what can be used to help protect the eyes from a lot of blue light with the computers. Your eye doctor can best advise you on what is specifically needed for your eyes in your situation. So the number 2 protection that we can use for our eyes is to adjust the color temperature of our computer monitors. Another resource for your computer display, there's an app that you can download which changes the color of the display to more closely mimic the changes in sunlight as the day goes on. And it's called Flux, F.LUX. Flux makes the color temperature of your computer's display adapt to the time of day. It makes warmer color temperature at night and cooler during the day. And you can find Flux to add to your computer. Perhaps we can put the link in the chat so that people can download that. So now let's talk about protection with good nutrition. And good nutrition for the eyes is critical. The eyes have a very high metabolic rate. They take in electromagnetic energy waves and they convert them to bioenergy. Quite a job, but this requires good quality nutritional building blocks. And these building blocks are nutrients needed to build healthy eye tissue. So here's a question for you, and you can put your answer in the chat. Do you think eating carrots or spinach will give you better vision? So if anybody has a thought about that, you can put it in the chat. So I see a few answers coming in. Oh, wow, these people, everybody's educated, all right. So many times people think it's carrots, but the answer is actually spinach. Unless you have a very severe vitamin A deficiency, then the carrots can help with adding some vitamin A and other foods that are vitamin A rich. But it's an interesting story. During World War II, there was a massive propaganda campaign that was initiated by the Royal Air Force. The Royal Air Force made up a story that eating carrots, which were abundant in the UK, was the secret to the exceptional night vision. They claimed this gave the British pilots an advantage to see better at night and see the German airplanes earlier on. But in fact, the Brits applied a technology called radar, along with the red lights on their instrument panels. And radar gave the British pilots an advantage for detecting German airplanes much earlier than before. But the Brits didn't want the Germans to know about their use of radar, so they made up a story about carrots to completely redirect suspicions. Carrots are helpful to the eyes due to the carotenoids. It's the orange color, the vitamin A and some vitamin C, but it's not uniquely better than many other vegetables. For example, spinach also contains about as much vitamin A as carrots. In addition, spinach contains lutein, vitamins, and minerals. Now, Dr. Park will be sharing more information with us on the nutrition.
For the introduction, Maura, and thank you very much, Dr. Prather, for wonderful knowledge about eye protection and eye health. Now, I would like to mention about why nutrients are important for eye health. As you learned, we are exposed to lights such as blue light and UV lights, but also we are exposed to oxygen. Our eyes are very much exposed to oxygen whole day until you sleep. So we need nutrients functioning as antioxidant, and also we need nutrient to filter those lights. So if you cannot take all the nutrient from your diet, you can also choose dietary supplement instead. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about major nutrients for eye health first, and then go to minor or other nutrients. Vitamin A and beta-carotene are important. Beta-carotene can be converted to vitamin A in your body. Beta-carotene from food can be converted to vitamin A, but you need 12 times more to make same amount of vitamin A. And if you take dietary supplement beta-carotene, you need twice more quantity to convert to vitamin A. Vitamin C and E are antioxidants. These are frontline antioxidants that you need from your body. And also zinc and copper, these are important minerals, but they also have antioxidant activities, just like vitamin C and E, and they are component of antioxidant enzymes in the body. And omega-3 fats, DHA and EPA, they are part of membrane, member of membranes, but also especially EPA has anti-inflammatory activity. And there are carotenoids. Beta-carotene is also one of the carotenoids, but it is considered vitamin. But there are non-vitamin carotenoids. We call it xanthophyll carotenoids for lutein and zeaxanthin. These are also important carotenoids for the body. And beta-carotene from supplement are not recommended for male smokers and previous smokers because they tend to increase lung cancer prevalence. But this is not for women. These are the studies finding. And so just for the caution, it is better to take lutein and zeaxanthin. There were studies using these nutrients. That's called ARED study. It's called the age-related eye disease study. There are two studies. One study used beta-carotene, and they found out some adverse effect for people using who used to smoke or current smokers. So they switched it to lutein and zeaxanthin, and they found same effect with no adverse effect. So these are the main nutrients, and additional nutrients for eye health are such as other xanthophyll carotenoids such as astaxanthin, which is in salmon color, like salmon color contains astaxanthin, and also lycopene in tomato or the watermelon, and polyphenols such as green tea extract, resveratrol, grapeseed extract, and other colorful berries and grape extracts or grapes, and other nutrient antioxidants, and also other vitamins and minerals. There are B vitamins it didn't mention here, but also vitamin D is also important, and manganese and selenium. So if you want to take all these from here and there, it's not easy and simple. So I highly recommend to take multivitamins. Basically, multivitamin is necessary for everybody from babies to elderly, because we cannot take all the vitamins and minerals recommended for the day with our food, from our food, because we don't need variety of food. Sometimes we hate certain food. We just only need to eat a certain kind of food, etc. Or we don't want to wash our vegetables, etc. So that's why I highly recommend multivitamins for everybody. On top of that, we can add more nutrient that I mentioned as major nutrient in the previous slide. Next slide, please. Okay, let's take a look at closely for the function of vitamin A and beta-carotene. As Dr. Prather mentioned, carrot is beta-carotene, then you think of a carrot, right? So this is old knowledge that always carrot is the only beta-carotene source, but actually green leafy vegetables are containing high amount of beta-carotene, but they are hidden on the green color, although they are contained. And these vitamin A are very important for eye development. So when you are pregnant, you should make sure that you take enough for your baby's eye development. And also it's essential for normal functioning of the retina, dim light vision, and color vision. and contributes to the maintenance of normal vision. And European, the authority, Nutrition Science Authority, endorsed beta carotene and vitamin A is important as a maintenance of normal vision and prevent night blindness. If you are deficient, you can have problem with night adaptation, and you will have impaired dark adaptation. Like, for example, when you go to the dark movie theater, you cannot see anything. You have to wait a few seconds for your eyes to adapt to see things in the dark. Or when you come out of the movie theater to the bright light outside, it's too much light, so you have to really close your eyes a little bit, a few seconds, to adapt to your light. If you have a vitamin A deficiency, you may have problem in switching between dark and light. And severe deficiency can cause thinning and ulceration of cornea, leading to blindness. So vitamin is very important. And lutein and zeaxanthin are very, very important. We recently, a few decades ago, we found out that lutein and zeaxanthin are highly concentrated in the eye. So these are called major macular pigment. And why they are there? Because they play some role, and they have yellow-orange color, as Dr. Prather mentioned about yellow eyeglasses to filter blue light. These are internal blue light filtering agent. So if you have enough pigment density, which means that you have to take enough lutein and zeaxanthin so that they can be in your macula as high density, then you can absorb blue light efficiently up to 90%. And it also has antioxidant properties, so it prevents light-induced oxidative damage in the retina. And also it protects visual fatigue and improve visual function and acuity, and higher blood levels of lutein and zeaxanthin are associated with lower risk or slower progression of cataract or any other age-related disease, including AMD. I wanted to give you my testimony. When I hit about mid-40, I started having problem seeing little small letters. I am nearsighted, so I always wear glasses to see anything like screen and far away. But I had no problem reading small letters closely, but I started having problem reading books. So I went to the doctor, and doctor gave me all kinds of ways to fix it, like dual focused eyeglasses, or one side contact with the presbyopia, the other side with my nearsighted vision, etc. None of them worked. So I said to doctor, I'm going to try something with nutrition and I'll be back. And I started taking lutein zeaxanthin at the time. It was like 20 years ago. So at the time there was a Ocuvite. So I started taking, and then I don't know when it disappeared. I started seeing all the small letters, and I have no problem, even 20 years later, reading any small letters possible. So my sister-in-law told me that you are a monster. How can you read the small letters? So this is a testimony of lutein and zeaxanthin are very important.
Love
Next
it.
slide, please.
Love it.
Thank you. And then zeaxanthin is intercomparable with lutein in your eyes. And if you like green leafy vegetables such as spinach, kale, broccoli, they are all coexist together, like lutein and zeaxanthin are there together. And some people say 5-to-1 ratio of lutein and zeaxanthin are better, and some doesn't say that's so critical because they are intercomparable in the body. So anyway, so lutein and zeaxanthin are good for your eye health. Next slide, please. And vitamin C and E are very important for your eye health because, as I mentioned, they are first-line antioxidant. They reduce oxidative damage, especially lipid peroxidation and protein oxidation in the lens of the eye. As I mentioned before, there are lipid, and Dr. Prather also mentioned there are lipid in the eye, in the tears, and protein in the eye, and they can be oxidized, and then these are protecting it. And the decreased vitamin C concentration in the lens of the eye has been associated with increased severity of cataract. And vitamin E concentrations were found to be significantly lower in the lens and blood of subjects with age-related cataract when compared to a control group. So vitamin C and A, there are some studies out there indicating that vitamin C and A may reduce the prevalence of AMD or cataract. Zinc and copper are also important. Zinc contributes to maintenance of normal vision. This is also endorsed by EFSA, European Food Safety Association, as I mentioned. If they endorse it if EFSA endorse it, it means that it really works because they go through tremendous literature review to approve this health benefit function claim. And the retina and retinal pigment epithelium contains particularly high amount of zinc than other tissues. Why is that? Because they are important in that eye. Anybody can imagine that. Also, zinc is an antioxidant enzyme. Zinc concentration in the eye decrease with age, especially in age-related disease such as AMD. And zinc deficiency may result in optimal dark adaptation and age-related macular degeneration. So, vitamin A was related to the dark adaptation. Likewise, zinc is also related to the dark adaptation. So it's important. Also, it has antioxidant property because it is a component of antioxidant enzymes in the body. These antioxidant enzymes, you cannot eat it. It is made in your body. So these are enzymes or proteins. So they are made in the body. So if somebody says take enzymes, that's kind of scientifically incorrect because all those enzymes are protein, and proteins are digested in your body, and then it has to be absorbed through amino acid, the component of protein. We cannot absorb the total protein, which cause allergic reaction. So you have to make it in your body. So you have to give all the important nutrients for you to make important proteins in your body. Also, it plays an important role in immunity. As you know, zinc prevent cold or relieve cold symptoms, etc. So zinc is very important. Copper is very important to take when you take zinc in high level. So to reduce the potential risk of copper deficiency in copper deficiency anemia, you have to take zinc, copper together when you take high zinc. And also copper concentration decrease in the eye when you have eye-related disease, meaning that it is important to have good eye. And also an essential component of antioxidant enzymes in the body. You may hear about superoxide dismutase, which is very important antioxidant in the body, and copper is an important player in the component of that enzyme. And omega-3 fats are very important. It's important for many, many things in our body, and I highly recommend for you to take extra omega-3 because some of the multivitamins and minerals don't contain omega-3. So even though you may take fish frequently, but there are some fish dilemma with contamination of mercury with heavy metals. So if you avoid fish, if you don't like it, or if you are concerned about those heavy metal contamination, I highly encourage you to take high grade, very purified omega-3 supplements. These are component of membrane of the photoreceptors, and also it may help relieve dry eye symptoms with probable benefit in increasing tear production. And also it has anti-inflammatory properties because it inhibits inflammatory omega-6 prostaglandin precursors. And next bullet point, please, support a thinner, more elastic lipid layer to protect the tear film and cornea. Dr. Prather mentioned about good skin, because your skin has so many cells and so many membranes, and these omega fats are also the membrane component. And when you have these flexible unsaturated fats, your skins are more flexible. Same with your eyelids. And it may reduce dry eye signs, for example, corneal erosion, tear film breakup, etc. And it may lower AMD risk. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about 10 eye care tips. There are more than 10, but briefly mention 10 while our eyes will degrade. If you think about your teeth, you have 28 to 32. If one goes bad, you can go and fix it. But eye is not easy to fix it. So it is very important for you to preserve your eye healthy. And there are some things we can do to prevent or damage some eye disease or slow down the progression. Get regular eye exams, very important. And eat a healthy, balanced diet. If you cannot eat healthy, balanced diet, please take supplement for the nutrient that I mentioned before, and gives your eyes a rest. If you watch, it's very hard to give your eyes rest during daytime. So, you have to blink your eyes as much as you can, intentionally blink your eyes. I try to blink my eyes intentionally, which can probably contribute to prevent dry eyes. And also, when you watch, Dr. Prather mentioned that when you watch screens too long, you don't tend not to blink your eyes, which will cause problems. And wear sunglasses or protective eye gears. I wear sunglasses all the time. And also protective eye gears, like when you work with dust or any metals or peppers, that kind of thing, or chopping onions. It's very important to protect your eyes. Or when you fry something, sometimes you get the oil splash. So it's important for you to protect eyes from those environment or daily routine jobs, and avoid smoking. Smoking is one of the biggest factor damaging your eyes, and there are research out there showing that children with secondhand smoking can have problem with their eye. So it's very important to quit smoking if you smoke, and maintain a healthy body weight. So if you have obese, your body mass index indicating that you are overweight or obese, you have a higher prevalence of eye disease when you get older. And get regular exercise. Regular exercise is important for almost everything in your body, including your eyes. And know your family medical history. I don't know whether Dr. Prather agree with that, but there are some indication that if your parents have AMD, you may have it, etc. Dr. Prather, do you agree with that? You have to really monitor your family history and then pay more attention to it.
Yes, the family history can be very important because it's the genetic makeup. But the good news is, if someone has a genetic tendency towards something, it doesn't necessarily have to manifest if you do all these things that Dr. Park and what I've been sharing with you, because then you are loading yourself with the good nutrients. There's a whole field of epigenetics that is becoming more well known that has to do with changing your genetic your manifestation of your genetics.
Okay, good. Thank you. And also know your other risk factors, because if you have diabetes, atherosclerosis, hypertension, obesity, etc., then you may have higher risk. And then if you wear contact lenses, you have to take steps to prevent eye infections. For example, wash your hands before you put or take off your lenses, and don't sleep with it. And also change it regularly. Sometimes to save money, you can wear longer than when it's recommended, etc. I used to wear contacts, but one day I slept with it. Just one night I slept with it, and then I had eye infection. After that, I changed to glasses. So these are 10 tips. I just wanted to ask Dr. Prather, do you have anything else that you want to add for the nutrient other than what I mentioned?
Hydration and just
that's right. Yeah,
a good quality water that just keeps the body moving, keeps the metabolic activity going, keeps things hydrated. So that's really the main thing.
That's very important. And also enough sleep is very important for your eye health and as well as your skin. Women care for skins, right?
Yes. Yes.
So thank you very much. That's it for my portion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Park. And thank you, Dr. Prather, of course. This was amazing. I see a couple of questions. I loved a few things that you talked about. First of all, I just love the fact that now I know, and I think I'm confident in the proper way to say zeaxanthin.
Bingo.
I always look at that word. I look at that word and I'm like, but that you helped me with that one, Dr. Park. And also, there's a question about blue light blockers. You mentioned the 3 different types of lenses. I'm sure there are probably a lot of different ones out there. And obviously you mentioned it because you believe they are helpful. Am I right? They work? Is that your opinion, Dr. Prather?
Yeah, so the blue light blockers, they come in different intensities. And you can hold up if something's yellow, then it blocks blue because they block each other. I have a little story about wearing my blue blocker sunglasses. So I'm driving along in the daytime, and I hadn't realized that I accidentally turned on my bright lights. Mm-hmm. But usually I would notice that the idiot light, as it's called, on my dash would show up, but it happens to be a blue indicator light. And I had my blue blocker sunglasses on, and I didn't see the blue color, so I was driving around with my bright lights on. And it was because I had my blue blocker glasses on.
So they work.
They did. I was curious, so I switched to my other glasses that don't have this little bit of yellow color to them, and then I could see the blue indicator light. It's like, yes, this works. Okay.
And you just made a couple of people annoyed, but I'm sure that they got over it. Let's hope that they did. Now, I see where some people are popping more questions in. The discussion of the, even though we're focusing on women here, the discussion of the male smokers and the beta carotene not being for them or being contraindicated for men, Dr. Park, I think that raised the question from someone, how long since they quit smoking? Is this something they should look out for? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Or is it just stay away from that nutrient in added supplemental form?
To be very honest, I don't remember how many years previously they quit smoking, but it was indicated previous smoker or current smoker. Okay. But I would just avoid it if you are a smoker, especially if you are a man.
A man, okay.
Yeah, because they are usually, there are studies showing just for the men. This was not for the women, but these adverse effects were for men. That's why in the slide it says male smoker or previous,
Okay, very good, thank you. I have a question here about what may cause eye hemorrhaging. And I don't know if maybe that's a bit too specific of a medical question, but are there nutrients, would you say, that could help support preventing that
So I'll address that, yes. Hemorrhaging, there's two ways an eye can hemorrhage. One is what you can see on the front of the eye, where there's a break in a blood vessel, and then it spreads out in the space between the conjunctiva and the white part of the eye. So you can have a very small little blood vessel break, and then it spreads out because it doesn't have any place to go, and it looks like you were in a fight or something.
Looks awful, right?
Yeah. The other thing with eye hemorrhaging that happens on the inside of the eyes when people have diabetic retinopathy and things like that. But what causes it? So if it's diabetic retinopathy on the inside of the eyes, then you want to deal with the blood sugars, so those blood vessels are not losing their patency and allowing the leakage. If it's on the outside of the eye, then you've probably got a situation that has a dryness component. And often vitamin C is something that can be critical. It could be that you're in an environment with some irritation. There are other structural things that have to do with the eyelid itself. If there's a rough area, like these little meibomian glands I was talking about, if one of them is clogged up and then you're blinking over the conjunctiva, you can actually scrape a little bit and cause a blood vessel to break. So if a person is dealing with problems with hemorrhage, it's most likely something they need to increase the vitamin C, increase their hydration, and use something to lubricate the eye. And I usually recommend eye drops that are the gel ones without preservatives, because then you're not adding something else to cause irritation to the eyes. And of course, go see your eye doctor to find out
that was
what's causing the problem.
More than once. It's good to get the eye exam, and that's critical. Chime in on that.
I just saw a
Please.
couple of questions about nutrition coming in the chat, so I wanted to mention about it. First question was zinc and copper quantity or the ratio. So I wanted to give you the amount of nutrient that they used in ARES study. ARES study 2, because the first one was using beta-carotene, and then they changed the zinc level as well in the second study. So we go by ARES 2 study as more finalized formula. So for example, vitamin C, 500 milligram per day. Usually most of the vitamin C supplement contains 500 milligram. And vitamin E, 400 IU, zinc 25 milligram, and copper 2 milligram. So copper is about 0.9 milligram for the 100% daily value, and zinc is 11 milligram for the 100% daily value, and vitamin C is only 90 milligram, etc. So these are a lot higher than daily value. So if you take multivitamin, you'll have 100% daily value for these nutrients. However, for your eye health specifically, you have to take more vitamin C, vitamin E, zinc, and copper. And also for omega-3 fats, another person asked about the quantity of omega-3 fats. It is recommended 1 gram total containing EPA and DHA. In ARES study, they used 650 milligram of EPA and 350 milligram of DHA containing 1 milligram together. So just to talk about Shaklee product, Shaklee Life Strip contains 1 gram of omega-3 fats with this ratio. And also it has 500 milligram of vitamin C and etc. So it's a good supplement for that, yeah.
That's good. Okay,
and what
great.
was your question that you were going to ask?
There was a question about protein, how essential that is to eye health. Wasn't very specific, just what about protein?
Oh, okay.
Obviously, it's a building block for all of our cells, as I see it, so no pun intended.
So proteins are important for many things in your body, including your immune, your skin, because your skins are always shed and then make new one all the time. For example, Like you all know, collagen is very important for your skin, right? It's not just for the skin, but collagen is an important protein in all the tissues in your body, including your blood vessels. So to make those protein, you need to take complete protein. I don't know if you heard about complete protein. I mentioned it before when I did a prenatal webinar. There are two kinds of protein: incomplete protein and complete protein. Incomplete proteins are more like plant protein, and complete proteins are animal proteins like beef, pork, chicken, eggs, milk, fish, etc. And so if you are avoiding meat, etc., or egg, you may not eat complete protein. Only complete protein source in plant is the soybean. That's the only one having all essential amino acid. The reason that we divide into two different proteins is complete protein contains all 9 essential amino acid. So there are 20 amino acids in your body to make protein. Your DNA is going to command for your body to make more protein. Then there have to be 20 amino acids. Among 20, 11 you can make it in your body. 9 you have to take from your food. And those 9 essential amino acids are in animal proteins. It has to be important ratio, not just for the quantity, but it has to have an important ratio and quantity. That's why you have to take complete protein. Then it'll make your enzymes for your eyes. It'll make proteins, hormones. There are protein hormones in your body, and there are steroid hormones in your body. But protein hormones are made of protein. So, and also if you are lack of albumin in your body, you have lack of immune response. In elderly, a lot of people have albumin deficiency, and then they can have immune deficiency as well. So that you have to have optimum ratio of complete protein daily. Protein is not like you can eat one day and then don't eat for several days, that kind of thing. Protein needs every single day optimum amount. There's something called the nitrogen balance every single day. So you have to take optimum protein every day. Then what's the optimum protein? If you take 1 gram per your body weight, it's pretty good. If you are elderly, we recommend a little bit higher, 1.5 gram per your body weight kilogram every day. And among them, 1/3 should come from your complete protein source, and 2/3 can come from other protein source. So if you take, for example, beans a lot, and beans also have some lack of essential amino acid, then you have to take some other stuff together to mix together to make complete protein. So even though you are vegetarian, you can make complete protein by mixing all different vegetables or plant sources together. It's more difficult than taking animal source.
Because I do know that, vegetarianism, veganism is becoming more popular, and some people are going to want to have that answer. And I know there are more questions, but I think some of them may be off topic. Some of them, perhaps, if Doctors Park and Prather are available to answer them in the chat on the Facebook stream, or we can follow up with some of that information later, because this has been just fantastic. Was there something else before I wrap up, Dr. Park? Sorry, she's
Somebody
muted.
asked about 1 gram per pound or 1 gram per kilogram. I mentioned 1 gram or 1.5 gram per kilogram body weight, which is 2.2 pounds. So you can calculate.
Okay, very good. That's great. And I think a lot of us are probably feeling the same way, that we're going to want to come back and watch this more than once, because it's been extraordinary. It's been really, really just chock full of wonderful information. And we thank you so much for helping out and for presenting for us tonight. Doctors, I wanted to thank you so much. And so if you'd like to learn more about the nutrition, we highly encourage you to reach out to the person who invited you to this event and ask if perhaps you can join their wellness center. You can create a free account in the wellness center and get VIP access to the digital library of wellness-focused ebooks and all of that good stuff, and the videos and the archived webinars like this one, for example. All of the above. And I think that's it. So thanks again for joining our wellness webinar, and we look forward to seeing you in our next event, and all good things and good health to your family. Thank you.